Not every heist ends in chaos. Some unfold quietly with precision, patience, and a plan that defies time. In the summer of 1969, two armored truck guards vanished from the streets of Boston. Their truck, loaded with over $7 million in cash, was found abandoned 2 days later. No gunfire, no witnesses, just an empty shell of steel and a mystery that would outlive everyone who touched it. For 40 years, the FBI chased ghosts, and what they discovered along the way revealed not just a theft, but the anatomy of the perfect betrayal. Before we continue into the haunting details of the $7 million armored truck heist that stumped the FBI for 40 years, make sure to subscribe to K-Script Vault, where we reopen the cold cases time tried to bury. It was July 14th, 1969. John, Jack, Dunn, and Ernest Granger, veteran guards of the Commonwealth Armored Car Company, began their usual route through Boston's financial district. Their shift started at 6 a.m. For nearly a decade, both men had been dependable, quiet, and disciplined. Dunn was 51, a former mechanic who took pride in routine. Granger, 34, the younger of the two, steady, loyal, always on time. That morning, a third man had also clocked in early. Edward "Eddie" Lasker, the company's maintenance technician. He was the one who serviced the armored trucks, including Dunn and Granger. By all accounts, Eddie was a quiet soul, kept to himself. But that week, a supervisor noticed him working long after his shift ended, inside the very truck that would vanish. By 10 a.m., the guards had completed several pickups. Everything was routine. But when they failed to check in for their final delivery to the Federal Reserve, dispatch radio, no response. By noon, it was dismissed as a technical glitch. By 2 p.m., the FBI was already on alert. The truck had vanished completely. 2 days later in Somerville, just outside Boston, a factory worker noticed something odd. A large armored vehicle parked behind an abandoned warehouse, its rear door slightly ajar. Inside, investigators found a chilling scene. The locks had been cleanly cut, no blood, no struggle, no sign of the guards. Every bag of cash gone. All that remained was a clipboard, a torn delivery schedule, and the faint smell of motor oil. For the FBI, one thing was certain. This wasn't a stick-up, it was an inside job. Over 60 agents flooded the company's offices. Payrolls were reviewed, maintenance logs combed through. That's when they found something strange. Eddie Lasker's signature on a maintenance record, dated 2 days before the heist, showing he'd replaced the security relay switch on Dunn's truck. That relay controlled the magnetic locks, and it wasn't due for replacement for another 6 months. When agents went to question Eddie, his small apartment on Beacon Hill was empty. His clothes, tools, and a photograph of him with Dunn and Granger gone. Neighbors said he'd left in a hurry. By that point, all 3 men had disappeared. FBI analysts pieced together what they could. The truck's security system had been tampered with, bypassed from the inside. Dunn, with his mechanical background, could have handled the locks. Eddie, the technician, could have overridden the alarm circuits. Granger, younger and agile, could have driven the cargo van they'd prepared. The theory: they staged a fake breakdown along a quiet industrial route, transferred the money into sealed steel drums, then moved them to Boston's waterfront, onto a small trawler bound for Venezuela. It was a perfect window of time. Boston's docks were loosely monitored that summer, and the city's mob networks were knee-deep in offshore laundering. Whispers began to circle. The patriarch of crime family had helped move Boston money, but no one would talk on record. Then came a clue that changed everything. Dunn's wife received a brief phone call from a man she swore was her husband. His voice, calm but distant, said only, "Don't worry, I'm fine, I just can't come back." The call was traced to a payphone in Providence. When agents arrived, the phone had already been dismantled by city workers. The case spiraled into rumor and myth. Newspapers called it the Great Commonwealth Vanish. Some saw the men as traitors, others as Robin Hood thieves who'd beaten the system. An anonymous letter even appeared in the Boston Globe. "They got away clean," it read, "but they never found peace." It was signed E.L. Throughout the 70s, tips poured in. Sightings in Miami, Toronto, even Buenos Aires. But none ever led to proof. In 1978, the FBI officially froze the case. It became a ghost story inside the Bureau, whispered among new recruits as the perfect armored disappearance. Nearly a decade later, in 1987, a break appeared. A retired dockworker named Peter Calhoun came forward, claiming he'd seen two men unloading steel containers from a fishing boat at a Maine harbor in 1970. He remembered one thing clearly. The side of the van they drove off in was painted with the words Gray Shipping Company. The company didn't exist, but its warehouse leases were paid by someone named Thomas Gray. Inside one abandoned storage unit, agents found a cash-counting machine, an empty revolver box, and 3 deteriorated money straps, all traced to the Federal Reserve shipment from 1969. It was the first and last tangible clue. Decades passed. The story faded into the folklore of unsolved American crimes. Then, in 2009, a sealed box arrived at the FBI's Boston office. No name, no return address. Just a note that read, "For historical purposes." Inside were old photographs, a rusted revolver, and a handwritten confession. The author claimed to be a man who once worked the trucks. He described the fake breakdown, the stolen van, the steel drums filled with cash. He wrote of 2 partners, one who died overseas, the other buried under another name. The letter ended with a single line. "They got away clean, but they never found peace." The handwriting matched an old employee file. Eddie Lasker. Fingerprints were long degraded. The revolver untraceable. But for the agents who opened that box, it was clear. Eddie had survived long enough to tell the truth in his own way. More than 5 decades later, the money, now worth nearly $60 million, has never been found. No arrests, no confessions, just a file in the archives marked closed, unresolved. Some crimes fade into history. Others live on, whispered through generations, haunting the files of the unsolved. And this one remains locked behind steel and silence. This is K-Script Vault, where we believe no story should fade into silence. Every mystery, every disappearance, every unanswered truth still echoes, waiting to be found. Subscribe to K-Script Vault and help us keep their stories alive.